morning. We're going to call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody to the April meeting. At the outset, before I forget, I've been admonished to remind everybody for the acoustics to please push the button so that the red light is on when you're speaking from the dais and push it off when you're done speaking. We will start with the invocation. Councilmember Carroll, if you could kindly give us the invocation.
We're thankful for this town and its residents. We're grateful for all who work for the betterment of our community and all who serve on its behalf. Let those who work here and those who serve here be ever mindful of the town's vision and mission statement. Grant this council the wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, personal peace in our lives, and joy in our task. Amen.
Amen. You will join us in the allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Once again, welcome everyone. Beautiful day in April in Indian River Shores. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Mayor Foley?
Here.
Vice Mayor Atwater?
Here.
Councilmember Carroll?
Here.
Councilmember Altieri?
Here.
Councilmember Dane?
Here.
Let the record show all members are present.
All right, fantastic. Item 2, agenda. Are there any requests from council to reorder, delete, or add items to the agenda? If there are not, we will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Okay, time to move on to presentations and proclamations. 3A, proclamation is National Safe Boating Week. The gentleman from, where are the guys with the brass? There you are. So if you could please move forward. Thank you. Good to see you again.
Go to the podium, please, and push the button down. Thank you.
Right. Before we give the proclamation, I want to say good to see you again. I saw you all at the boat show last week, and you do a great service educating folks. And why don't you just give a little bit of background as to who you are, what you do, and how it benefits the community, and then we'll give you your proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Jim Vaughn. I'm flotilla commander of our local Coast Guard Auxiliary. This is my flotilla vice commander, Tom McCarty. We're both very involved in boating safety. Tom does a lot of the vessel examinations. He and I both run the public education, do boating safety classes, which we encourage everyone to come to. We're highly involved with the local base with the Coast Guard down in Fort Pierce, and recently setting up communications through all the local agencies, police departments, sheriff's office, and such. I just have something we're prepared here. I'll go over real quick, so I won't hold you up because I may have a lot of business to attend to. In 1958, President Dwight Eisenhower signed the Federal Safe Boating Act into law, and the National Safe Boating Council was formed. The United States Coast Guard Auxiliary plays a vital role in National Safe Boating Week, which is typically held from May 17th through the 23rd. We, the Auxiliary, partner with the Coast Guard to promote safety and to educate the public. Auxiliary members engage in various activities, including boating safety classes and vessel safety checks. We are strong advocates for the wearing of safe life jackets. Approximately 85% of persons who died from boat accidents were drowning victims without life jackets. With that in mind, we thank you for the opportunity to be here with you this morning. We'll leave some brochures and flyers at the office, and feel free to reach out to us if there's any way we can help the folks here in your community, and we thank you again.
All right, well, we thank you very much, and you know, I note on the whereas, we'll get to the important part of the proclamation, that 650 people die per year in boating-related accidents, and I forget how many of those are preventable, but I remember reading it somewhere that, you know, with some of your safety tips, that number can be very dramatically reduced, if not eliminated. So
in our classes, we really strive the need to wear life jackets when vessels are underway. That's when the majority of the accidents occur. And if you're thrown from the boat, you can't reach back into that compartment where it's hidden. So can you grab that one for me, Tom? They don't have to be the cumbersome big orange things anymore. You know, I even have this one. This is color coordinated. No, I'm not going to pull the book. I mean, we can even color coordinate them for those people that are fashion conscious. I didn't want to bring one of those big, heavy orange ones today because it makes people get a cross between Poppin' Fresh and the Goodyear fella. And but we do strive for the safety on the boats, and if we can be of any assistance to you folks here, we'd be happy to. If your police officers need training, have them get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to set that up. Anybody else in the public that deals with any boating safety issues, we'd be happy to help them out with things. In fact, I'm preparing a letter to send out to all the police agencies in the county, offering free training to all the Marine units and any police officers that are active that wish to attend it. So we're really trying to push this so we don't have accidents here in our county.
Terrific.
One just caveat, an add-on here. The day before National Safe Boating Week begins is May 16th, and that is Wear Your Life Jacket to Work Day. There's a website you can upload your pictures to and actually be eligible for a contest. So good luck with that.
Okay, well, it'll look pretty interesting around here on May 16th then. So thank you very much. And we do have a Marine unit, as I'm sure you know, and I'm sure town manager will take notice of that and coordinate any activities that can be helpful, particularly with even educating people, you know, through gentle reminders while they are on the water here if they see anything unsafe. So thank you very much.
I'm sorry. If the Marine unit takes our course, they know what the people are learning, and they can see what they should be expecting from the people on the water.
That's terrific. Thank you very much for all the work you do to make our community safer. So the operative language for the proclamation, it's a proclamation of the town of Indian River Shores recognizing May 17 to 23, 2025 as National Safe Boating Week. So on behalf of the Town Council of the Town of Indian River Shores, we hereby support the goals of the Safe Boating campaign and proclaim May 17 to 23-25 as National Safe Boating Week and the start of the year-round effort to promote safe boating and urge all those who boat to practice safe boating habits and wear a life jacket at all times while boating. So thank you very much. If you want to come up and we'll get a photograph with council for you so you can publish it on your website as requested. Thank you very much. Item 3B, another great proclamation to give to a great organization. We mentioned this last meeting. There was a little confusion on when you were coming, but it's such an important task you do that I think it's almost appropriate that we had back-to-back meetings where we mentioned the Moonshot Alliance and the Moonshot Community and the Learning Alliance. So I don't know who wants to come forward, but please feel free to come on up. Mrs. Peniston was former council member here, so you know your way around here pretty well. And please give us an overview of what you're all about and the great work that you do.
Thank you,
Morning,
Mayor
everyone.
Foley and Indian River Shores council members. Approximately 12 years ago, a couple of people, Barbara Hammond and Liz Woody, started the Learning Alliance, and the goal was to increase the literacy of children exiting the 3rd grade. At the time, not only in Indian River Shores, but nationally, the numbers were woefully low. We were under 50%. After years of work, we are now at about 65% and hoping to go higher this next year. So we very much appreciate this proclamation calling attention to us. But the other thing that we've done is show how effective a private-public relationship can be. Working closely with Dr. Moore and the Indian River Shores schools, we've crafted a relationship that has been so effective that other counties in Florida and even states from as far away as Virginia have come to look at what we're doing. So that's another benefit from the whole thing. So thank you for your proclamation. Thank you for supporting the Learning Alliance, and we appreciate your support.
You're very welcome. Anybody else want to say a few words, or?
Thank you. So again, thank you, Mayor Foley and council members. I'm with the Learning Alliance, but I do have two of our representatives from our Moonshot community here, so Wilfred Hart and Joe Coakley. Just to show you that the Learning Alliance is the managing partner of this, but the Moonshot literacy movement is really a county-wide movement. And as Debbie said, we're getting this national attention and really making great strides. So we're happy to have representatives from the business community, from the school district, family, and again, we're so grateful for all the support from Indian River Shores, so thank you.
Fantastic. I've had the pleasure of attending more than one breakfast where you see the program in action, and I highly recommend anybody who is at all interested in their community, which should be everybody, to learn the work that you do, and if you can, talk to someone who's deeply involved in this, because literacy and an educated community benefits us all in terms of employment, in terms of good, solid citizens, makes us all better and all stronger. Mr. Hart, welcome. Good to see you again. Mr. Coakley, good to see you. Do you want to say anything, or shall we just get to the proclamation, or?
We just want to tell you thank you for, we've had the pleasure of working closely with you, Mayor, and Mr. Bob. We've known you two for a few years now, and we're just so honored to be in the house of the people again.
Thank you. Well, the honor is all ours. So we have a proclamation of the town of Indian River Shores Council proclaiming the town of Indian River Shores as a Moonshot community. And that's the important thing, because it takes all of the communities to kind of get behind this. So we're part of that community, and we need to support it. So now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Indian River Shores hereby proclaims and designates town of Indian River Shores as a Moonshot community. We recognize the vital contributions of all stakeholders to our community's literacy efforts and pledge to continue working together to make Indian River County a model for literacy, ensuring that every child has the opportunity to succeed, and adopted this 24th day of April 2025. It's a pleasure to do this again. So thank you for all your work.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Would you like, you want to do a picture for your, okay, sure. Wilford. You're very welcome.
Without me in it.
No. All right. That's it for the proclamations. We have a presentation. Item 3C, the presentation of the September 30, 2024 financial statements. Christine Knoll Christine Knoll Ron of Carr, Riggs, and Ingram. So good to see you again. We have to stop meeting like this every year. We seem to see you. So please take it away. And I know you've done this before, so we're all ears.
It's good news, though. So you have a clean audit opinion. If you want to look at the financials at all, mostly be on page 21. So your general fund, the fund balance increased by approximately $1 million. If you compared the revenue to last year, revenue increased by about $780,000, mostly your property taxes because of increased value. And your expenditures were down $271,000 because the Pebble Bay Estates project finished last year, so that was the big chunk of capital outlay. Your planning and zoning fund became a major fund this year, so there's a change in the accounting standards because there's one every year. This one has to primarily do with presentation. So if you're looking at the bottom of that page, there's a new line that says adjustments. That's not adjusting because of an error. You now have to take any time a fund goes from major to non-major or vice versa. The opening fund balance has to be the same, and then you show an adjustment column, so it's moving from the one column to the other. So that amount is taking the opening fund balance from the planning and zoning fund out of the non-major column and then moving it into its own major column. Yes, yep. So, and then if you're looking in the back at the combining schedules, the planning and zoning fund's there, and it has a title formally non-major, so it's all zeros, just so that the opening fund balance then sums to if you opened last year's statements exactly. So it's trying to help the reader follow the opening fund balance and where it's moving when the funds change between major and non-major. The fund itself increased revenue by $390,000 because you had an increase in your permits, and the expenditures increased $60,000 due to more salaries. Your ARPA fund, you spent $350,000 as of the end of September, leaving $240,000 left to spend this year. So all of it had to be obligated by this past December, and then you have until December of '26 to finish that spending. And then your non-major funds this year include road and bridge, bike path and pedestrian, and your law enforcement trust funds. Revenues were basically the same as last year, and your expenditures went down $200,000, again, because the Pebble Bay Estates project was finished, and the road and bridge fund had funded part of that project last year. If you wanted to look on page 75, search your budget versus actual, you came under budget on all of your major funds. So management watched closely to make sure you stayed within your budgetary constraints. We did not have any findings or areas of recommendation. Heather's very cognizant of making sure she's got checks and reviews of everything that she does. And we went through with the finance committee, but we do a financial condition assessment that the state requires. It compares you against other towns of your size, and you had a favorable rating, which is hard to get, and you didn't actually have any ratios that were unfavorable, which I've never seen in 20 years. So congratulations, you guys are kind of setting the bar for everybody else at your size.
That's very nice to hear, and I'm going to paraphrase an old Geico commercial. You made it so easy a lawyer can understand it, and I think I can speak for this side of the podium. We have the finance experts to my left and the legal guys to the right. Is there anything that comes to mind that you can see to improve the way we do things? You have enough access to supplemental information and everything you need?
Yeah, Heather uploads everything for us. She makes it we've worked over the years of here's the items, here's what we need. You will have a change next year in your statements for you'll have to accrue sick leave now because the standard's changing again. So that's something that's coming up. So you'll see the liability increase because even if you don't pay it out when they leave, you have to guess how much they're going to pay. I don't understand the thought process. You'll never see a for-profit company follow that, but that's what they want to do. But no, I mean, Heather's, every time there's some change or some edit, if she's preparing it, she makes sure Jim's reviews it, or her staff prepares it and she reviews it, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Heather. We can't thank you enough for the ease with which you do this and the diligence with which you show in getting us all the necessary information for us to do our job. So thank you, and thank you to the rest of the staff that has input on that. Are there any questions from council, starting from right to left? No? Vice Mayor?
The only thing I would say is I think we have a potential revenue source that we need to think about, and that is to have Heather work as a consultant to the town down the island that maybe they can get their act together so that they're not flabbergasted in the future. So it might be just something for us to think about.
Over my dead body. She's all ours. So, and thank you for that comment, and thank you for your hard work. And we will see you same time, approximately next year. So, thank you again. All right. Are there any comments, item 4, from the public regarding agenda items? We have items on the agenda. General comments go at the end of the meeting. Any comments on the agenda? If there are none, we have a consent agenda on item 5. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Okay. We need a roll call vote because we have a resolution. So if you can call the roll.
Mayor Foley,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Atwater,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll, Councilmember Altieri,
Aye.
Councilmember Dane. Let the record show the motion passed unanimously.
Thank you. All right, moving right along, we're up to the mayor's report. So, item number 1, fantastic news. Sector 4 has been finally officially designated as critically eroded. We had some indications this was going to happen, but we were cautioned by our very cautious town manager not to let the word out until we got the actual notification. So we are, after a decade of hard work by many council members, including people who put an awful lot of time here on the dais. Mr. Altieri, Vice Mayor Alwater worked extremely hard on this. Past council members, the former Vice Mayor, we worked extremely hard. Staff, our legal counsel, finally, Section 4 has been designated as critically eroded. Also like to thank our local representatives who provided assistance. We had some support from Representative Brackett and Senator Grawl as we worked our way through what to me seemed to be a fairly easy thing to accomplish until you get into the weeds of it. And we were the only stretch of sector beaches in our area that was not designated as critically eroded. So the practical effects of this are now we have access to items that will not just repair but improve and hopefully preserve our shoreline for decades to come. So congratulations to everyone for the good news on this. All right, item number 2 on my report, the cart swap. We have a wonderful administrator, Lucy Scheit, who has put together a terrific plan for our town residents to swap out the carts as we move to piggyback off the carting and recycling contract with the county. There are some snafus, we recognize that, but hopefully these things are getting resolved. And you know, I can just say thank you to Lucy and our town administration for the incredible patience that's going into this, particularly in light of the challenges with seasonal residents coming and going when the transition needs to be changed out. All right, now for the most important thing, the dress code for our council, of course, just to remind everybody that from the months of November through April, we have our recommended dress code as we are now. And then we can go with not quite the Fetterman look, but you know, we can dress casually. So just want to remind council next time. So with that, I have nothing else to report. Is there an item or any matters that council members wish to ask me about?
I would just just to add special kudos on the critically eroded characterization that we received. In matters regulatory in the state, it's very difficult to get from point A to point Z, but this was handled here by our town manager, Jim Harpering, with help from others, and the retention of our outside counsel, Holland and Knight, between Jim and Holland and Knight, and really going to the source in state and local government, really was the charm here. So Jim, special kudos to you, I think, and your team at Holland and Knight for the job we did on that.
Yeah, agreed.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for getting the ball across the goal line. So really do appreciate it, and it's good news for us. It's nice to have good news. Item 7, are there any council member items? Any items council members wish to bring up? Vice Mayor? Mr. Carroll, no? Okay. Item 8, discussion with possible or probable action. We have resolution number 2504. It is a non-ad valorem assessment for solid waste. We can, actually, why don't we let town attorney, town manager handle this. It's basically a different mechanism to pay for pickup of garbage and recycling.
Mr. Mayor, if I may read it in title and then turn it over to Mr. Harpering. This is Resolution 25-04, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Indian River Shores, Florida, levying a non-ad valorem special assessment for residential properties lying within the municipal boundaries of the Town of Indian River Shores, as more particularly described in Exhibit A of the Town Charter, to fund solid waste collection and disposal and related charges within the town, collecting such pursuant to the uniform method for the levy, collection, and enforcement of non-ad valorem assessments, approving, confirming, and adopting the non-ad valorem assessment roll incorporated herein as Exhibit B, providing that such assessments shall constitute legal, valid, and binding first liens upon property against which assessments are made until paid, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. As this is a resolution, there's only one reading required. However, we are required to have a public hearing as part of this passage.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sweeney. And Mr. Harping, you want to just put in layman's terms what this is? Basically, it's a different mechanism to pay, so we don't have separate accounts and have to pay directly.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. Essentially, what this resolution does is it authorizes all parties to place the billing for solid waste. Recycling is already on the tax bill as part of the landfill fee, and yard waste on the tax bill as a non-ad valorem assessment. In this way, the residents will not have to deal with any one-to-one relationship as far as the billing. It's uniform, and this was part of the overall move with the town getting in with Indian River County for the new franchise agreement, and the county is also proceeding in this way for essentially universal collection. So this is the legal and procedural mechanism to authorize this particular process relative to the addition of a non-ad valorem assessment on the tax bill.
All right, thank you. I asked for public comment at the beginning of the meeting, but on this item, I'll ask for it again. Does anybody wish to comment on this? Yes, sir? If you could kindly come up, state your name and general residence, and then make your comment, please.
Good morning. My name is Al Cattell, and I live in the Shores. And I just want to make sure I understand. This is only for trash, or does it include recycling? And how is that going to be handled?
The recycling cost is already actually on your tax bill. It's actually built into the landfill fee.
Okay.
So this will be for solid waste. This will be for solid waste collection.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Just one clarification, though. People still, if they have large hauling things, they still need to establish an account that will be extra, you know.
Yes, thank you for noting that, Mr. Mayor. For any bulk collections, large items, then that's a one-to-one relationship with waste management. Pursuant to the franchise agreement, that's a scenario where you have to call the waste management and schedule a pickup for bulk.
All right, thank you. Is there discussion among council? Vice Mayor Alwater.
Just one question. If a resident sells their property, say 6 months into the period, is there any mechanism for proration on this?
Well, at the time of the sale of the property, the legal obligations for billings would transfer to the new property owner. Okay. And just to highlight, there's no provision also for cancellation of services temporarily. So that's how essentially that transition.
Okay, so when you have a real estate closing, that would be an adjustment on the settlement? Is that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council. This will be built into your tax bill. This will be, you receive one tax bill. You receive ad valorem based on property value and non-ad valorem, which is not based on your property value. So you'll receive one tax bill, and if you sell, just like any other closing, it's prorated based on that.
Just on your HUD 1?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good question. Anything else? All right. Is there a motion to approve resolution number 25-04?
So moved. Second.
A roll call vote.
Mayor Foley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Atwater?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll? Aye. Councilmember Altieri?
Aye.
Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Let the record show the motion passes unanimously.
All right. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 8B, ordinance number 578, modification to planned residential development The tract at the River Club, we had a quasi-judicial hearing last month, and why don't you do the legal requirements, Mr. Sweeney, and then we can move forward.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, Council, this is ordinance number 578, an ordinance of the Town of Indian River Shores, Florida, approving a modification to the Master Development Plan for a Planned Residential District, PRD, authorizing a change in the configuration of buildings and lot types in Tract UA, providing for conformance with the modified Master Development Plan and providing for scrivener's errors, the repeal of all conflicting ordinances, codification, and an effective date. This is the second reading. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Is there any public comment on this item? If there is none, is there any discussion among council? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Foley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Atwater?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll? Aye. Councilmember Altieri?
Aye.
Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Let the record show the motion passed unanimously.
Terrific, thank you. Item 8C, we now move to the approval of the audited financial statements that were presented some moments ago. Is there discussion on this item?
Just a brief comment, Mr. Mayor. We all know what a great job Heather does, but in particular with turmoil that's going on in another community, I just want to put on the record that Heather had the draft statements that she provided to me. I believe it was early February. I looked them over, given my financial background in the bond business. I had 3 minor suggestions just to enhance a couple descriptions. It's like clockwork, the way she gets these things done year after year after year. There's no nonsense going on or anything else like that. So I just, my reason for asking this is, be pulled from the consent agenda when the agenda was revised, just to point that out, that the way she gets her work done is a tribute to her, and that's all I want to say. So,
thank you. It's a sentiment, I echo, and I'm sure everybody up here echoes as well. It's, so easy a lawyer can do it, right? So that's pretty good. So thank you for everything you did, and thank you for your kind words, Vice Mayor. Is there a motion to approve the 2024 audited financial statement?
so moved.
We do not need a roll call on this, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 8D, we have a request to reschedule the November 2025 regular town council meeting. Does this come from council or does it come from staff?
This is from council.
All right.
Yes, I'm the culprit. And any day the following week, that is to say the week of November 17th through the 21st would work. And if I might suggest a specific date, it would be Thursday the 20th, 1 week after the regularly scheduled meeting date. But
November 20th?
right.
Works for me.
Fine.
Any objections?
No.
If you just give me a
Sure.
second, I turned my machine off so it won't ring. I'm sorry, you said November 20th?
Mhm.
That's fine by me.
Okay, good.
All right, is there a motion to change the calendar of regularly scheduled town council meetings, setting the November date to November 25?
20th.
November 20, 2025, excuse me.
Right. So moved.
Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, we're good. Item 9.
Thank you.
I know we have some staff mostly out in the field, so we're going to be, I'm looking around, Mr. Mike Rams is out, everybody's pretty much out except the town treasurer. Mr. Harping, why don't you handle 9A through C? Just go tick them off.
Will do, Mr. Mayor. We do. I'll defer on public safety to Assistant Chief Ryer, who's in the back. But regarding the building official, we're continue to be busy. The reports reflect that. One thing I would note, we're getting very close to the final implementation of the software change, excuse me, which allows the property appraiser to get into our system, consistent with all the other municipalities here in the county are going to that system to assist with their appraisals and things like that. It's also a better system for us internally. So that's in the process there. On code enforcement, Inspector Mitrans does a really great job. He is communicating with a lot of people out in the field. In fact, yesterday, he and I and Sergeant Parker, as well as a couple of folks from the city of Vero Beach, were out looking at Fred Turk. There were a couple of items that we were addressing, and he happened to notice a very nice real estate agent putting an open house sign out in front of the town, and he politely walked over, had a nice conversation with her, and she was very kind. That can always be a very sensitive issue, as we know. So with code enforcement, though, I think the changes we've noted has served the town very well. In Public Works, as with really all areas, we're very focused right now on making sure we have all of the things either on hand or ordered for hurricane season. I realize it's April, but in our collective mind, it's necessary. And then I will, of course, defer to Heather. I wouldn't want to speak on her behalf, and Assistant Chief Ryer.
Sure. Yeah. No, I said A through C, so that does it for you. On the anchor, we got some interesting news about our town. Well, it's not a mascot because it's an inanimate object, but our town symbol. So if you could identify that, please.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The anchor, during some construction on the pipeline project, the anchor had actually been knocked over. It led us to reevaluate what was out there. And again, you might think that all things solid waste are Lucy, but she took it upon herself through discussions and managed the entire process. I had sent out a brief on that to council. And it is a 1715 shipwreck anchor. Mel Fisher museum personnel came down and helped us clean it, recoat it, and reset it where it is. So we hope that it presents a lot better than it had.
Thank you very much. Believe it or not, a lot of pride in the anchor. So thank you very much for that report. Heather, 9D, Ms. Christmas, do you have anything additional you want to report? Actually, you have a budget amendment that you handed out.
On your dais, you have the pension report that I was able to get done after the pension board meeting. I don't know, I think my report was having issues, so it didn't get put into the packet. It'll be sent out right after this meeting. Oh, there it is.
No, we got it. Yeah, we had it.
We just wanted to make sure that you got that. That is my normal budget analysis. The main point that I have is I'm going to need to do some budget amendments next month in the May meeting. One is for the cemetery project, and another is for the approved comprehensive plan. They were not in the original budget, so those budget amendments will be shown next month. I'll also show a decrease in pension expenditures for the finance department and the building department, because we don't need to contribute as much as I originally projected. So those will be the types of changes that will be on next month's budget amendment. I'm also now currently in budget preparations, so that Jim and I are going over all the numbers right now. So we are working on that diligently so that we can present that to you in July. And I've been working closely with the Public Safety Department, and we are on task right now to start the new ambulance billing company on May 1st. So we are ready to pull the plug on that, or start that up. And I'm available for any other questions.
Terrific. Anything for Heather? Vice Mayor?
So I'm looking at your pension report. You had enough numbers to calculate through to 6 months of the fiscal year. So I'm looking at the big kahuna here, which is the police and fire pension fund. As ugly as the markets have been, to be only down 86 basis points fiscal year to date doesn't sound that bad to me in terms of.
But that's as of March 31st.
Yeah, right. No, I understand. I mean, right now we could be down 5%. Who the heck knows? And just one other thing, and with regard to the budget analysis that we get, and at the risk of being accused of piling on, but I really have a point to make, is we generally get this every single month, with the exception right at the start of the new fiscal year, because you're closing out the books and everything. I've gone back and looked at the city of Vero Beach, and I think the last one of these, and I may be wrong, I've tried to go through their various meetings, was back in June 30th of 2023. Now look, the general fund, what goes on over there is kind of their business. But their water and sewer fund, which we pay substantial monies into, how do they know if they're on budget or not? You know, they're almost 1 3/4 years now where we haven't seen any budget numbers. And since I can only do it on this dais without the public meetings law, maybe Mr. Altieri, at your next Utilities Commission meeting, you might just want to, bring up, what are they doing to monitor that they're on course in terms of budgets and budget variances when no numbers are being reported? As far as I can, unless they're secretly doing it at Monty Falls is doing it there with meetings behind closed doors in council, which is an extremely bad practice, because then a city manager that's not doing things well can sort of do a divide and conquer strategy, because nobody knows what the other person's being told. But if you can, if you feel appropriate to bring it up at your next meeting, I guess they're only quarterly now, right?
There are meetings every other month now.
Okay, they're every other month. So I would just be curious, because Rob Bolton back in 2022 was estimating that the cost of the plant would be approximately $82 million, and now we're up somewhere around a 177 range, I think, and so forth. He blames various cost factors, and everybody blames COVID at this point in time. But I'd be curious to see, is he hitting his operational budget numbers on a year-over-year basis? I think that's important, because I listened to their vice mayor there telling me or telling us in their council meetings what a great job Mr. Bolton's doing. How the hell does she know if there's no numbers? So.
Yeah, thank you. Just to put a finer point on it, I'm glad we're us and not them at this stage. So we are inheriting some of the consequences of that. So I agree with all your requests. My recollection was that the Utility Commission tried to remove financial matters from their purview, which I think is a violation of the ordinance. And Mr. Altieri did I think, magnificent job setting the stage at your first meeting to kind of reorient the Utilities Commission to what it should be, since that's really the only outlet we have as non-voting customers of the utility to, as non-voting members of the utility to vent and to express ourselves. So thank you for your comments, Vice Mayor, and thank you for the good work, Mr. Altieri. But all well placed. All right, item 9E, Public Safety Department. How are you today?
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, Town Council.
Good morning.
Edward Ryer on behalf of Chief Stone and the Public Safety Department. Just to update all on the public safety building renovations, the main upstairs bathroom in the station has been completed. Looks amazing. And all other areas upstairs, downstairs, and outside the public safety building, the renovations continue there, and they're progressing towards completion. I don't have an exact date on that, but I believe I'm going to have a meeting today with the builders, with the contractors. Other than that, traffic enforcement continues to be a priority since the last meeting. I don't know if anyone's noticed, we have the digital speed signs out on A1A. There's one in the south and one in the north for the 35 mile an hour and the 45 mile an hour zones. That's all I really have. Is there any questions?
No, thank you very much. Anything from council, starting with
Nope.
All right. All right. Well, thank you very much. You did a great job pinch hitting. So
thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Really appreciate all the work you do, and I know it's challenging too, because you have these big car carriers that kind of blog up the highways, and I know that's a challenge for you guys to handle, but you're doing a great job. Do you think the the digital speed signs are actually effective in reinforcing to people the speed limit. It seems to be working as far as I can see.
So as a matter of fact, Mr. Mayor, one afternoon when I was leaving, 3:15, somebody came down Fred Turk heading east, and they were moving. By the time I got in my vehicle and had rounded the corner going south on A1A, they had gotten down to that sign. At that point, it was probably in the 5600 block, and when you're above 40, I believe it's 60 miles an hour, it actually flashes red and blue, and that was the first time I had seen it. And as soon as that happened, if you're under 60, it'll just show the speed, and it might flash, and it says slow down. But if you're above 60, it's red and blue, and I saw this person throw out the anchor. The brake lights came on, and until they were south of the 7-Eleven, they continued to go within an acceptable speed limit. So I do believe they are helping.
Great, thank you very much. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question about the car carriers?
Yes, sir.
My understanding is that the preferred procedure, so if someone calls town hall, calls your office, says, I want my car picked up, the preferred procedure is to have the car carrier come into Fred Turek and then pick up the automobile there. What I see mostly happening is that the car carriers pull to the side of A1A. Sometimes they actually stop in the middle of A1A. What is it that we can do to ensure that people are adhering to the preferred procedure? Seems to me pulling into Fred Turek is the safest and the most efficient way to do this. And having it on A1A is, I think, a safety issue, among other things. Is there some way that we can get people to adhere to that preferred procedure?
So you are correct. The procedure, the preferred one, is to pull anywhere on Fred Turk where they can load up there. All of our officers that are on patrol are aware of that. The procedure, especially the one in the middle, that's a huge no-no. Every now and again, they'll come upon somebody that is on the shoulder. If they're already in the process of loading the car, usually my instructions to our officers have been, hey, just park behind them, throw your lights on, make sure it's safe, so he gets it on there rather than stopping it, because now we've got a car on the shoulder. Now the car carrier has to come all the way down here, then they have to get the car. Finish what they're doing at that moment, but in the future they need to come to Fred Turk. So we have put it out there, and what I will do is I'll put it out there again to our, especially now that we're coming out of season, to our officers to have stricter enforcement on that.
As I recall, several years ago, we had a procedure where somebody had to get, I may not use the right term, a permit or something that they didn't have to pay anything for. Are we still doing that system?
We are still permitting them, sir, and the reason being because not only do they have that, but that's the time that we explain, hey, come on out here and do it here. That way we can ensure that we're speaking to all of these companies and letting them know this is the proper procedure. Yes, sir.
Thanks again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Council.
Item number 10, the Town Attorney Report. Mr. Sweeney, we have probably the most interesting legislative session in the 15 years I've been following it. That being said, there are some bills that are working their way that are of interest to us, in particular HB 11, regulating water utilities. We have some unfunded mandates coming down the pike, such as probably going to be required to file and monitor condominium associations that have to, file their SIR study and milestone reports. And I know accessory dwelling units are fairly heavy item for us. Some of the other things that are of area concern, like community redevelopment agencies and things like that, less of a concern for us, but as a municipality, but as an area we are. So what can you report? And I know you got a crystal ball because nobody seems to know what's going to happen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Well said. Very good introduction. So let me just give a brief overview of where we are. The session ends next Friday, a week from tomorrow, on May 2nd. That is the last day. As I mentioned at our last meeting, there was thousands of bills that are filed at the beginning, and it winnows down relatively quickly in the first month. And as we get into the second month, because session is only 60 days long, the focus then starts to move towards the budget. The budget is the only thing that is legally required under the Florida Constitution to actually be passed. They do not have to pass any other legislative actions, but they have to pass that. And it is required to have a 72-hour cooling off period before it's presented to the governor. As of this morning, there is no consensus between the two houses on what the tentative budget should be. There's quite a discrepancy in the nature of billions between the two proposals, mostly focused on tax rebates or reduction in taxes. You may have heard some about a sales tax reduction, a property tax abatement, those types of things. So today, tomorrow, and Monday, I would expect that the legislature will be focused on that because they are legally required to have it finalized by Tuesday to be able to have the 72 hours to present it to the governor. As a point of note, if they're not done by then, they would have to do one of two things: either call an extension, which has to be approved by the Senate at a 2/3 majority, or call a special session. And most importantly, all of this has to be presented and finalized by no later than July 1st, because the state works on a July 1st to June 30th budget. We, of course, work on the October 1 to September 30th. That's why they give us the lead time, but we're now approximately 60 days or so from the end of the fiscal year for this year, and if it's not passed, then bills, unfortunately, will not get paid at the state level. So I give that as context because I expect and continue to see a lot of focus on the budget. But of the bills of note, as we sit here today, there's been approximately 18 to 20 bills passed, most of which have been declaratory type bills. We proclaim this day National Otter Day or something of that nature, right? But of substance, there is one important, which the Public Safety Department is certainly aware of. There's now a requirement that clerks are required to transmit orders, essentially on involuntary commitment, to either the sheriff or the chief of the local law enforcement agency within 6 hours of them being issued by a judge. Previously, there had been nothing like that. So again, not that we expect this to come up much, but it will be something that I'm certain, speaking with Chief Stone, we'll make sure we're prepared for in that event. They could come out at midnight, theoretically. But of the bills of substance, the HB 11, which is the Utilities Regulation Bill, subsequent to our last meeting, I did author a letter in support of including the language that would limit the transfers back. That language had not been in. Many times with legislation, there are multiple competing bills. That bill and the author of that bill has drawn back and fallen in support of another bill, which, as the mayor mentioned, HB 11. HB 11 is generated out of Miami Gardens in a situation, I shall say, with North Miami Beach. North Miami Beach is the utility provider. Miami Gardens is the recipient, and much of the bill is focused on the 25% surcharge that is currently allowed to be charged to outside cities or outside municipalities from the generating, much like our situation we have in the town, where we receive utility service from another city and we are subject to a surcharge. In that case, there is a provision providing that if there are specific, what they call facilities, utility facilities, typically a water treatment plant or a wastewater treatment plant, then the receiving municipality could not be charged the additional 25%. But that's very specific. It's definitely keyed to that situation in Miami Gardens. Yesterday there was a vote on the Senate side. It passed. It now is required to go back over to the House side to see if they can work it out. But like a lot of things, it may go by the wayside because they have to focus on the budget, and they really only have 6.5 working days left in this legislative session. So we shall see. I shall continue to monitor it and report it back. Otherwise, the multiple bills addressing potentially accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, which would a lot of people refer to them as mother-in-law suites or in-law suites being built on your property. There was approximately 8 competing bills in different versions. The one that's made the most headway just moved, again, from the Senate to the House. what they call messages, but again, here it is, see if you agree with it in our version of it, and if they do, it would then be passed. If not, they would have to move through a committee and see if they can get it all in the same language. The final one that we had talked about before was HB 301, sovereign immunity. Sovereign immunity is something that we enjoy as a municipality. The current limits are $200,000 for an individual claim, $300,000 for a collective claim from a singular incident. If it were to pass, it would move to $500,000 for an individual claim, $1 million collectively, and that would be for any claims that occurred between October 1, 2025 and September 30th, 2030. After October 1, 2030, it would move up to $600,000 and $1.1 million. And that one also was just transmitted from this time the House to the Senate on Tuesday of this week. One last important note on that is there are no more committee meetings allowed. So if something hasn't made it through its required committee stops on the way to a floor vote, effectively it's dead. So again, the number of the thousands of bills has now winnowed down to less than dozens, and we shall see if any of them even gain any more traction. But I will be attending the local government seminar today, tomorrow, and Saturday in Fort Lauderdale with all of my colleagues throughout the state, including representatives from the Florida League of Cities, Florida Association of Counties. So they are the eyes and ears, the front line, and I'll just be able to receive feedback on that. I'll be monitoring closely, and most importantly, as soon as we hear anything, I'll report it back to this council. If there are no questions about that, I do want to briefly mention about the Form 6 lawsuit and status, but let me...
Any questions on pending bills? Okay, financial disclosure. Sorry.
I'm sorry, he was behind you there, Mayor.
Fluoride in the water, the legislation relating to chemical additives by water districts got passed in both the House and the Senate.
Yes, as I understand it, yes. But again, the governor also can take his time, and as we saw last year, he will often has, in the past, sat on signing bills. There's no time frame for him to have to sign a bill. So it can be presented April 1st, and he can decide to sign it October 1st. So as I'm aware at this point, it has not been signed into law by the governor. So again, thank you for that, and I will make sure I stay abreast of it. If there are no other questions on that, just very briefly, on the Form 6, as you all know, there is a requirement to file financial reporting as elected officials in Florida. There are two forms, Form 1 and Form 6. Form 1 is the one that has been for many years the basis for municipal officials to fill out. It's what I consider a lesser form or a more basic form. A year and a half ago, legislation was passed requiring all of you in this capacity to file a Form 6, much more comprehensive. A lawsuit was filed last year in federal court, and lead counsel was successful on behalf of multiple plaintiffs to receive a temporary restraining order and an injunction. That injunction, as we sit here today, is still in place. I spoke with lead counsel earlier this week. Motion, and this is his exact note, cross motions for summary judgment were filed by both parties and fully briefed in November of last year. They are waiting for the judge to either enter a final decision or set the cross motions for hearing. So accordingly, the preliminary injunction is still in place, and just as importantly, as I was just mentioning, he is unaware of any legislative efforts to address this. I do not believe, certainly wasn't introduced, and nothing's going to be introduced at this point. So I expect that there will be some resolution over the next couple months on that case. As I hear it, I will pass that along. I do not expect it will be retroactive in application. Again, our town clerk is a liaison to help you get those forms from the state to fill them out. But again, if it changes, the injunction goes away, we would receive that, but I highly doubt that it would be retroactive. You'd have to go back.
It's all electronic filing now, though, right?
And it's all electronic filing. Yes, that's correct. So with that, that's the status of the Form 6 lawsuit as well. That completes my report, unless there's any other questions.
Nope, great job, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see what the future brings on these bills. So,
yes, sir.
I believe on there's a legislative tracker that, and I'm not sure the real time, it will tell you which bills are eligible that have made it through committee. But I don't even know if they have any more floor votes scheduled for, like they do a floor vote day where they just, has anything like that been scheduled, or are they?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, so there are three iterations of bills. There's passed, which of course those are done, have received the floor vote on both sides, are in the same form, those would be presented to the governor. There's enrolled and engrossed. Enrolled means that it's essentially done on one side of the House and should be moving to the other side for final. Engrossed means that it appears to be the same on both sides, just hasn't received the final package. There is a status, and yes, there are probably close to a dozen or 24 that have now been engrossed but not presented to the governor. Otherwise, the ones that are either on one side or the other, there's approximately several dozen, I would say close to 70 or 80. Again, many of them are not substantive, but yes, there is a way to track that. However, to your point, there are no more committee meetings, so everything is considered 4 days, 4 votes from this point on.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Town manager report. I preempted you with the Anchor Preservation Project, but if you have anything further on that, please feel free to comment or just give the balance of your report.
I do not, have anything additional on that. Just 2 very brief notes. One is just to thank staff, and in particular, I apologize, Janice, for always getting the meeting. Get a little emotional when I talk about how great the staff is. Just getting the meeting together and squared away, and of course Mike for running all of our IT systems, Mike Latinsky, our IT director. In that regard, the actual installation and transition of our IT system and broadcast system begins on Monday here in the council chambers. We recognize there's a very tight calendar. Our vendors are aware of that. So we're hoping to have all that complete by our next council meeting on the 22nd. But that does start on Monday. Other than that, I don't have anything else unless I can address anything for council.
Anything for Mr. Harpring? All right. Thank you very much. We're going to move now to council committee reports and non-action items. So basically, we'll start from Councilman Dane. Do you have any committee reports?
No, the League of Cities was to have their meeting last week, and they canceled it. So I don't have much to report. The reason is because of a lot of them are in Tallahassee for the monitoring what's happening in the legislature. So next month I should have a full report.
Thank you. Mr. Altieri?
The Utilities Commission met 2 weeks ago. Once again, it was a fairly packed house, having more to do with the effort to have the commission report to the city council about the issue about water, fluoride in the water. It was a very, very passionate crowd that showed up in support of the position that the city should no longer put fluoride in the water. A motion was made by one of the members of the commission to have, of the Utilities Commission, to have the city council consider and rule in favor of ceasing to put fluoride in the water. That motion did not pass, largely because of the pendency of the legislation in Tallahassee. And then the rest of the meeting was dealt with the water reclamation facility and the cost for that. We have I think the penultimate deliverable from Wharton Smith, the construction firm, and the numbers that they submitted are based upon a 90% engineering plan, but with their understanding about what the deliverable would be at 100%. The current number is the estimate for there are 2 projects going on. One is the water reclamation facility. The other is the stormwater irrigation project. Solely with respect to the WRF, the total estimate is now $177,784,000. That includes a 10.6% contingency and a 4.5% escalation. in addition to getting very detailed 90% numbers on the contingent plan, they also presented what is essentially the critical path for the construction. The construction project is estimated to last 30 months. The bids have been submitted and reviewed. I think that package is going to be presented to the city council at their May meeting. The critical path, again, 30 months of construction. It is likely to begin this summer. So this ship is sailing. It's likely that the city council will approve the proposal from the engineer. And I think work, according to Rob Bolton, work is probably going to start towards the end of the summer or the beginning of the fall, and then last for 30 months. There was at the last meeting, Rob Bolton was there. There was a very, very thorough discussion of the deliverable from Wharton Smith, and very few questions from the field. The one question, there was one constituent complained about the fact that there had not been presented a thorough financial analysis of how this would affect rates to the ratepayers. So there was discussion about that and how this would evolve to the bottom line. And my memory is that it would lead to an increase in water rates of approximately $300 a year. So I will say that they for the first time, I've been to 3 of these meetings. This meeting they were prepared. Rob was there. He spoke for probably half an hour about the submission, about the timetable for both projects. But I think we're at a flex point where this is actually going to be underway. Probably, my guess is it's more likely that real work's going to start in the early fall.
2 questions from me. In the discussion, did he happen to mention whether or not the cost estimate prepared and being presented to council took into account tariffs?
No, not really. It did discuss the grants, though. It's a different subject, and I should have mentioned this.
No, it's quite all right.
Because I had raised the question about whether or not some of the grants that had been made with respect to the water project would be imperiled by the recent commotion with respect to the audit. His response was that the greatest percentage of the grants were federal grants, so that will not be affected, and that because of the way the timing is rolled out, they believe that they will have their house in order at a time when it won't affect the state grants that they anticipate receiving.
Well, I'll be flabbergasted if this starts this summer. There were supposed to be shovels in the ground last summer. There was a report in the press that in order to meet the timetable that he proposed at the meeting you attended, Councilman Altieri, he was going to be in a position to go out and I believe get a $40 million just basic loan to start doing preparatory pipe laying work. Was there any further amplification about that? And does that have to be presented to your commission, the council, or was that glossed over?
I do not recall a granular discussion at the last meeting about that level of financing.
Okay. Thank you very much. You're doing God's work for us on that utility commission, as the vice mayor did for many years. And I think we are going to adopt a statute of limitations to limit how many years one has to serve on utilities commission for the cerebral hygiene of our council members.
Yeah, I think that's a violation of the 6th Amendment of the Constitution if you're on there too long. But I have a couple questions,
Please.
if I might. So with regard to the cost estimates, the thing that they've really been bouncing around on, they're really not answering the question, and maybe you can provide some insight, is that cost, 90% cost figure that you mentioned, does that include the demolition of the current plant along the lagoon? I've never been able to get a solid answer out of Bolton on that.
My understanding is that it does not include the demolition. It does not include any regulatory costs associated with, for instance, environmental at the demolition site on
Okay.
17th Street. So that's an additional cost. It's sort of a phantom cost. I have no idea the magnitude of that cost, but it's not, I think it could be a material number.
I mean, one individual who I know who has done plants, not utility plants, said it could be his guess, and I emphasize guess, $15 to $20 million range, insult to injury. And I guess my second question is, the mayor mentioned that they're going to go out for some preliminary finance and get this thing started because they can't get a bond rating because they don't have audited statements. If that comes up, I would ask you to consider really pushing them on that in terms of how they're going to do it. They're talking about doing a one-year loan. Frankly, my concern is they go out and just go to a local bank and get it rather than bid it out. And I saw a number in the paper, I may be wrong, but maybe upwards of $75 million, and he threw out a 4% interest number. I couldn't figure out where he got that based on, you know, my former colleagues in the business. So I want to make sure it just doesn't go to some local bank on a sweetheart deal, because, as you point out, we're going to be paying through the nose on this for forever. And, you know, it's the way they've, I mean, I still to this day, I can't figure out why this thing didn't start in 2022, because they were working on it, goes all the way back to my first term on council, which ran from 16 to 2020. They had a consultant report that was talking to $52 million. So here we are now, just this thing is just being dragged out, and having visited the Fort Pierce operation, see how quickly those folks moved around in a similar sized plan. I'm just lost at the incompetence on this thing. It's going to cost all of us so much money.
All right, well, on that happy note, which I agree with you on, unfortunately, I mean, particularly since they take the position that they're not really contractually bound, and there's no regulatory regime to set the rates, because all they have to do is propose a rate study that, you know, supports whatever rates they want to sell, and there's no practical way to object to that. So, and that includes anybody who gets water from the utility system. So. I also had my meetings canceled because everybody's up in Tallahassee trying to figure out what's going on. So they're probably on their way back as we speak. Do you have anything to report, Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I had a Beach and Shores meeting on Monday. So this was a continuation of discussion about the Sebastian Inlet District, a memorandum of understanding between them and the county in terms of moving sand that their jetties capture. And I couldn't get any support to put a mechanism in place to just measure whether they're meeting their obligations, which they signed with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Extremely frustrating. So you know, I was going to go in front of the commission and bring it up again in a public meeting. I'm probably not going to go in that direction, because Joe Ehrman, who I thought was in my camp, he reversed himself. It sort of reminds me of, you know, what we dealt with Vero Beach, where they have an obligation to match rates, and Vero Beach says, well, it's on the paper, not going to do it. Well, Sebastian Inlet District's exactly the same thing. They have an obligation. They don't want to measure it. They get around to doing it, fine. And the people in the committee apparently are going to let them get away with it. So that's the end of that. So,
thank you. Councilman Carroll.
Nothing to report.
All right, thank you. This is the part in time where anybody who's left, is there any public comment? Anybody want to comment? Anything on your mind? Going once, going twice. Okay, we are adjourned until May 20th, 22nd, May 22nd. So we will see everyone on May 22nd. Have a great and safe day. Thank you, everyone.